Welcome back. My name is Tyler. This is another episode of Emotional Nightmares.
My name is Nicole.
Welcome. And on today's episode, we have a special guest for us, and kind of grew up around. His name is Chris. So Chris is here to talk with us kind of about the changing of behaviors, changing our mindset and the way that we think. So we're just going to start off right from the gate. So Chris, what aspect made you realize maybe you were a toxic person, that you had to change some of the ways you think?
It's hard to pick just one, to be honest. I think the biggest change that made me realize I needed to was there was a point in life, into my 30s, where the majority of my life was spent in jail or juvenile detentions. And even though I did so well in that structure, honestly, I thrived during those times because I had structure. I was like, why do I keep ending up here? And why can't I take this structure and put it outside so that I can live life better on the outside than I do on the inside? And that's sad now that I say it out loud. But that was what made me realize I needed to change. But then getting into it, there was so much more that I had to change that I didn't even, at that point in time, understand. But yeah, I was sick of living in jails and institutions. And that was it.
So at what age do you think you started going into institutions? Because that was a young age.
Yeah, into them. Probably 13. 13. Got locked up. They call it locked up. I got removed from society because I couldn't adapt to the rules. And it just carried on. Like, how many times you would see me for like 2 months and then be like gone. I'd just disappear, and people are like, where's Chris? I've had friends growing up that had to stop being my friend because it hurt them seeing me gone so much. And back then, I didn't know that or care, but now it's like, man, I was affecting so many other people other than just myself. But yeah, 13 up until I think I was 32 when I got out. And that was my last ever jail visit. It will be my last ever jail visit.
Nice. So tell me a little bit, like, with the obstacles, right? So like the mindset, because like during the younger ages, obviously, and we'll touch a little bit on the younger and go into older. We were in that mindset of just not caring, right? So how did that affect you? Like, what did that cause?
Just not caring?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It caused me to, one, you're never going to abide by societal rules with not caring, right? Like, honestly, there could be things that I'd be dead wrong in, but I didn't care what it did to you. Anyone. Like, let's take it a step further. I didn't care what it did to my friends. So imagine to a stranger. Like, that wasn't even a skip. I could just keep walking. A friend, you might have to think about it a second, take a beat and still, make the wrong choice because you just didn't care. But the biggest part was, it wasn't that I didn't care about that. I didn't care about myself. So it's so hard to care about how my actions affect another person if I don't care about how my actions affect my own self. And that was something I had to think of.
Do you think that like before 13 or like even before 32 when you got out the last time that you were like actually able to cognitively process like even what that meant, things affecting other people, the fact that like you even had a friend? Did you even know what friendship was?
I knew it from an aspect of we were loyal to each other, if that makes sense. because everything was gauged by loyalty. Like,
And what was that? Like, what did loyalty mean in your group?
I mean, it meant like if he got jumped, I got jumped. I mean, it was all, and that's what's like, now that I can think back on it, the aspects of it were all bad. Like, it was never like, if you succeed, I succeed. It was never like that. It was always the negative aspects of life. So, like, if he gets booked, I'm getting booked. If he's fighting the police, I'm fighting the police. It was never like, if he's winning a Good Citizens Award, I'm winning the Good Citizens. It was never like that. So, it was, I mean, now that I look back and can think of friends today, I had no idea what friendship meant. But again, I had no idea because I didn't know my responsibility for that side of a friendship.
Yeah.
And it's scary to think of just how big of a group of people that we had that was the same way. Like, they were the same way.
Yeah.
Their aspect was that we never looked at it like, hey, we should help our friends succeed. Nope, we just looked at it as, we'll help you self-destruct and burn everything else around you. And so, no, I didn't have that aspect. Even at 32, I didn't have that ability to look and see what that was. I had the ability, though. That's what I mean. I didn't have that experience, but I had the ability to look and be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, this isn't right. And so the big thing I had to do was become selfish because I had so much learning to do. So I had to learn not only what a friend was, but what a friend expects of me, and then also how that makes me feel. So I really, there's going to be parts of this conversation that's going to sound real selfish, but I had to, because I had to learn before I could be any type of friend or help or anything.
I mean, I think that's all of us, right? Like, I know even for me, like, I had to, I stepped away from all of you guys a long time ago because I was like, man, I gotta do something different. And it was, and in a sense, it's almost too, I was just talking about this last night, is you end up feeling that survivor's guilt in a sense of like, damn, why did I do that? And if I'm succeeding and I just kind of left them and they're not succeeding, with a couple of our friends that are still in prison, it's like, damn, like, I want to help them, right? And at the same time, it's that selfish attitude of like, I can't right now because I have to take care of me, right? So what was the pivotal point that made you say, you know what, I can't do this no more and I have to take care of me? Because like emotions are hard to talk about, right? And obviously that's one of my favorite things to talk about is emotions. So what was that emotion like? Like, what was it that was like, man, something's got to change. This has got to give.
So the most, listen, so I learn every day. Like, even on my way here, I had some setbacks, right? Terrible start of the day. I was frustrated. I'm a perfectionist, so being late to this bothers me. I don't like making people wait for me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the me now is like, you know what? Out of my control, I'll say sorry and move on. And, that's it. I have to do things like that. So every day I'm learning. But the point that really said it for me, that like, I got to change. I got to change everything. Is the very last time that I got booked, I had a son. In my whole upbringing, I never had a father, right? Like, never. The relationships from like, say, my mom and her like love interest relationships, all very bad relationship goals to set yourself to, right? But I've never had a father figure, so I know growing up, like the type of person I am, that bothers me. So it bothered me a lot, like, that I was like, I'm never going to do that to my kids when I get older. And then here I was doing it to my oldest son. And like, that was when I first learned to truly look inside myself and take responsibility for it and be like, look, this is a life you're setting for him if you don't change. And it luckily gave me the strength and the, like I can be a stubborn person, but usually it's stubborn to the wrong things. It let me use that stubborn superpower and apply it to the right thing. And so that was a turning point. I was like, listen, I'm not going to be this person for my son. And I refuse. And so that was the start of it. A lot of steps since then to, get to who I am today. And I have a lot of more steps to go. But that was a start. And thankfully through God, your higher power, your people, whatever it is you believe in, I am at a point now where my son lives with me, both my sons, and we're set on a point in life that I can be proud of, that I'm not that to them. I took that setback then and allowed myself to change and put the work into change, that now I'm a rock for my son instead of, that guy that's not around.
Nice.
It's really important. I've talked to Tyler before about I'm probably doing the screaming thing again. I talked to Tyler before about I really truly believe that patterns and mirrors and belonging can really just set you up for destiny in whatever means that happens to you, right? And so it's really hard for a lot of people to even see that they've developed a pattern, but it's harder for people to see that pattern was developed by a mirror, which starts another pattern developed by yet another mirror. And so the fact that you're even registering that with the things that you didn't have as a child and yet deserved, that's pretty impeccable, because you're going based off of the things that you wish you had instead of anything that you had to mirror, and you understood that he's just going to start mirroring you. And so that's actually pretty incredible as a human, because not a lot of us will really just be stubborn about changing our homeostasis, right? Our balance, our safety net, our home pattern. And you kind of disrupted the whole thing, and you were like, not for me anymore, man, which is really cool, because as an outsider, you guys know exactly what you're talking about, right? And I am from Pittsburgh, and so the things that you guys did in the country, 20 years ago, just blows my mind. I'm like, what are these things that got normalized for you guys, And so I really think that a lot of disparities were placed here, and the fact that you've really overcome them is huge, right? And so I just want to know, what is something that you did at that change, right? Because at some point you were probably 16, 17, 18, 19, too young, right? And people probably were like, well, who's this Chris? Where's the Chris I know? Where's the old Chris? Where's the Chris I want to hang out with, right? And you're trying to change your life, and what is that battle like? What is that struggle like?
Yeah, it's tough. Especially you said, survivor's guilt, right? Seeing the people that I grew up and we loved each other, we had love for each other, seeing them die, seeing them continue to throw their lives away, seeing them struggle even. So a battle, the big battle I had inside myself was I had to learn to love myself, right? That was something I had to learn how to do, because I couldn't love anyone else, correctly if I didn't learn to love myself. And so while I'm trying to learn to love myself, I would see my friends pass away. I would go to funerals and see people still struggling, and the part of me that grew up with them people wanted to run to them, wanted to do whatever I could to help them, and I couldn't, because the part of me that was learning to love myself was if I do that, I'll be there with them. And so the thing that helped me overcome that is, once you start loving yourself, even just a little bit, just a little, if you grab to that and hold it with all your might, especially if it means life or death. It truly meant life or death for me. And there were people relying on me. I never had that. Like, I mean, I did, but I never acknowledged it growing up. Now there's little people that rely on me. Like, they have no choice. And so it allowed me to hold on to that like, I need to do this. I need to love myself before I can help anyone. And so the first couple times, that was really hard to not give in and go chase my friends or do that, be there for them. It was really hard, but through practice, like doing it repetitively, because sadly I've had to, it got so much easier. And then once I started loving myself, and you say mirrors, I use them in a different way, right? I love how you explain that, because I mean, honestly, now I can sit here and see it. I can see it, but I use it as the mirror to myself. I tell myself the truth, no matter if I hate it, no matter if I like it. I tell myself the truth. So I had to do that a lot with little situations. Like, if I didn't like the way I reacted to something, I would sit there after the fact, of course, at that point. Now, thankfully, I can, mostly catch it before the fact. But if I didn't like how I reacted to something after I was out of that something, I would sit there and be like, what happened? I would replay it in front of a mirror to myself and be like, oh, it went south here because I did this. Not because of the situation, it's because I chose to do this. And this is how I reacted to somebody else. And that mirror has helped me a lot in catching things before I have to. Like, before I react in a way I don't like to. Just like today, I could have thrown today away. That bothered me. I don't like being late. I'm a perfectionist, so little things. And thankfully, I'm a perfectionist now with the knowledge to know that I don't control really anything except how I react to stuff. So go out to start the car. Just got a letter yesterday of them telling me the battery could die because my car's trying to upgrade. And I was like, I literally said in my head yesterday, like, never happened to me. I'm good.
I think I did hear about this on the news.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm good. Didn't happen to mine. Maybe the car's far enough away from my Wi-Fi. I'm good. The car doesn't start. Battery's dead. And I'm like, oh, this letter. The letter did it. It's the one that did it to me, I'm going to have to write them and tell them they did this to me. But anyway, it could have threw my day off. And it did for a second, right? Like, I was mad. I was upset. I was unhappy. And I'm coming to do this, and that's not things you want to be.
Right.
Like, I want to come spend time talking to my friends on how I overcome stuff, and I'm just some grump in the corner sitting here. So I looked in the mirror on the way here, like, wait a minute, why are you so upset? It's not this letter's fault. Stuff happens. Life happens. It's how we react to them. And by the time I got to Franklin, the 15-minute drive, I was happy. Good mood.
So how did you learn that, right? Because, like, we talk about that. We've talked about that. I guess we talked about it on some episodes that we haven't released yet.
No one's seen
Yeah,
before.
nobody's seen yet. But like we've talked a lot of times on like our perception of things and how we react to different situations, right? And that's hard for people to learn, because like one of the things that we try to talk about, like with anger management, for example, is the way we see a situation where it's the way we perceive it. We're only angry because we're perceiving it in a negative way, right? So like one of the things you said was like the way you react to things is different. Now, how did you learn that behavior? Because that's like we talked about before we even started this, a lot of our behaviors that we learned were so fucking negative, right? Like we learned just the worst stuff possible and thought it was okay and normalized a life of unmanageable things that we thought was manageable, right? So how did you learn, man, this isn't normal, let me react differently?
Failure.
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, that's it. So, and I say this a lot to my kids and my boys in my life, just because I have such an experience with it. Failure is my biggest teacher. I learned the most valuable lessons through it. I relate to it so well from the way we grew up and the actions I've chose that honestly, I've become comfortable with my failures. And that's what you don't want to be, right? I don't want to live in failure.
Right.
So how do I get out of that?
Yeah.
And what I would do is I say would, like I do it in the past. I will, even now with my failures, look at them and say, what am I going to learn from this? How am I going to let this become my success? And yeah, failures teach me a lot. I will sit there and say, like you say, how you change your reaction. So if I react badly to something, I mean, there's nothing I can do if I've already reacted.
Right.
You know, I've already done it. But I will sit and study that reaction and be like, where did it go south? And a lot of the times when I was growing up, I would blame others, right? So it was their fault. Like, you made me do this to you. What? And that's how it was. I was like, you made me do this. And then I would look at it, and if you truly look at it and you look in that mirror and tell yourself the truth, be like, it comes down to, no, I made a choice to do this. And how can I not make this same choice? I don't want to live in failure. Who does?
Right.
And so that those little things is where I stop. So I'll tell you one thing that I did, and this is like the commitment it took me to have to try and change my behaviors. There was a stretch in life where I was doing okay, right? I was okay, just sort of doggy paddling along in life. And I didn't want that. I didn't want to be, I want more. I want more for my people, for everyone that I could give more to. And there was this, like, so I started watching some, like some self-help motivation videos. I'm at work, so I have time. And the thing with them all is become mental tough, right? Mentally tough. And I'd be like, I think I'm mentally tough. And then when I'd look at it, I'd be like, nah, I'd let that situation get me. So maybe I'm not. But I spent probably 7 months straight. Every day of my life, I said in my head, do better. That's it. Those 2 words, do better. And I said it every day, numerous times a day. If situations were getting to me and, like, say, things got out of control, it was sort of like my mantra that brought me back to be like, wait, keep your eye on the prize. I would just sit there and be like, do better, do better. All of a sudden, I started picking up garbage off the ground that I would walk by. All of a sudden, I would stop and help somebody carry their groceries, or if they were struggling, I would stop and just see if they were okay. And it all came from that do better in my head. And like I said, I did it for 7 months straight, I think. And I liked the change it had in me, but it gave me the focus I needed to react differently to situations.
Right.
Like now all of a sudden when I feel that situation come up, like something that bothers me, and I'm hypersensitive to it because it's something I focus on. Instead of just reacting, I hear do better. And it gives me that second to think about what I'm going to do. If I have that second to think, the odds are I'm going to come up with the right decision. There's not too many situations where I won't be able to think of the right decision. It's when I don't have that second to do that I'll react with the mirrors that were set, the behaviors that were instilled in me growing up in a time that, wasn't the best for me. So I just go back to what I know. But if I have that second, I can, wait a minute, we've been here before. We've done this before. Let's not repeat it. Let's overcome it. And it's small things like that in the whole that has built to success for me. And the do better really did help me. It helped me become a better person, and it now helps me get that second that I need, just to think. I mean, of the bad decisions you made in life, how many did you honestly think of before making them?
Yeah.
Not many.
Not many, right? And that goes into our whole, like, we never even knew they were bad decisions, right? Because, like, we were just so conditioned to, like, this is just normal. I remember just doing stuff, reacting, and being like, well, why are you mad? Like, that's just what you should be doing. Then I'd be mad at that person for not reacting the way that I am.
Why aren't you mad for me?
Yeah, right?
Because that was the loyalty cling.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. It was,
Be mad for me, be mad with
Yeah.
me.
Something that's taught me a lot about our growing upbringing, right, in our friend group. Like you just said, why are you not mad for me? Is this new movement of, like, people get, what do they call them? Karens, I guess. Like the
Okay.
Karens, right? I learn from them, and I love that I learn from these people.
Yeah.
Because I'll see some video and be like, well, how would I react in this situation? But I see them get mad.
That just like snap in public.
Yeah, because of someone else. Like
Right.
something you did to him, I'll be like, how dare you? You must be.
And you're willing to throw
Oh, I'm ready to die. I'm ready to die.
on Facebook
Yeah.
in the middle of a Target.
Yes, I'm
You're
ready to die
go.
right now. And I would be like, because I can relate to that ready to die. Like there were so many times where some people call it, like I say, ready to die on your soapbox, whatever it may be, how you know, your upbringing. But there were so many things that I'm like, as minuscule, that I'm ready to die over.
Yeah.
And that defined me for, like, you step on my shoe, I'm ready to die. Let's go. We go outside, I'm ready to die right now over this situation. What? Like, it's a shoe. But the thing that I could see from these videos is, like, these are people trying to be empathetic for other people. But I'm mad over something you're not even mad about. Is that empathy? It's not.
No, it's not.
Right. Empathy is feeling what someone else is feeling.
Right.
And these people are like forcing in their mind, I'm sure they're like, I'm a good person. You see what I did to that person? When in reality, you've made this person uncomfortable that had the wrong done to them, and the person that did the wrong is now just more mad and feeding more anger towards you, and the situation gets out of control. And that helped me put in perspective our beliefs. I was like, man, I would get mad for Tyler. He was not even mad, and I'd be ready to die. And it's like, man, those are the things that the automatic responses we've built up, that I've built up, that I had to change. And those videos helped me do that. Like seeing them now that I'm from a self-reflection standpoint in life, I looked at them and be like, why would I be so mad for someone else? They're not even mad.
Yeah.
I'm not being empathetic for that person. I'm taking my shit out on them. That's really what it is. I have a bunch of anger built up. I'm gonna take it out on y'all.
Thank you for giving me a reason
Right.
that I've done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I
that's it.
like those videos. I watch those and think the same thing. Like, why is everybody mad? You know, if the other person don't even care, or like,
And they feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, please stop. Please stop.
I watch these people get mad, and I'll be like, but you're mad for somebody else who doesn't even care. Well, they do care. They just don't want to say it. No.
No.
Or someone that's not present.
Yeah. Like
I know if my sister was here,
Yeah.
she would be offended. Well, she's
Yeah.
not, so.
Imagine how much control issue you have in there.
That's what it is.
Like, you have to feel this.
Yeah.
Because I said so. What?
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
control, like,
And then we
that's-
wonder, like, why we grew up the way we did.
That's where, like, I always go into, like, you know, the unconditional love, man. Like, I just love people, and I want people to just be happy. And, like, something that I've learned that's helped me is where I look at things like, why do I care? You know? And, like, in all reality, I have to look at things like, if it has no bearing on my life, then why do I care? You know? And, like, that's where I find a lot of people, I'll listen to people, especially at work, I'll listen to people, I'll be like, wait, you care about something that nobody else does. What are you really mad about? What's the real problem here? Because it's a deeper rooted issue. You know what I mean? So, like, that's awesome that you've learned that self-reflection, because it's hard for a lot of people to learn that, you know?
I still believe that some people don't get there.
They
They
never
die
will.
first.
They
They
never
die
will.
Yeah.
first. They're too far gone. You know, they're
I mean,
not willing
yeah.
to take any accountability or responsibility in their life. And I mean, like in Chris, when we listen to your story, it's I took accountability. I saw the problem. I wanted to be the solution. You know, and they're just a lot of action commitment things. And that's a big deal. Like, I can barely commit to myself during the day, so like I understand, but like being able to commit to something ongoing and then try to live your life through that because, you know, like you said, like you don't want your son to see those. I mean, that is a long thought process, right? That is playing that whole tape out, and then there are those people that they didn't even have a tape to begin with, you know, and I feel for those ones. Those ones are mine. So I'm just going to adopt them. Just keep them in my house.
But it becomes easier, right? Like, at least in
Sure.
my experience. What we talk about, like learned behaviors. I have learned behaviors that are toxic, that go back to the age of 2. You know what I mean? Like that they're just learned behaviors. So I can't stop them at times. But I can, once I realize once I recognize them, I can change how I react to them. Like before, the old me would be like, say something I'm in the wrong, like I don't like failure. And now I'm comfortable in failure because I know I'm going to learn from that failure. The old me would take that failure, jump off the failure bridge, and defend it to the death because I didn't like failure. I still don't like failure. And I would defend my side of it to the death because you're not going to tell me I failed. I'm going to succeed. When in reality, the easier thing to do is learn from that failure and not do it again.
Right.
And that's so much easier than, like you said, the anger, responding with anger. And boy, do I have that in spades. I have anger in spades. I can get mad. I could sit here and get myself mad over, little things. And that's and I'm okay with that because if I recognize it, I can change how I react to things. But the anger nowadays, like I can still get really angry, especially through like internet. I
Don't do it.
Internet's so bad.
Don't
Right?
do it. If you're going to
Excuse
go
me.
off into the depths of the
Right,
internet,
right.
grab a tether, man. Like,
It's so crazy, but if I recognize, like, anger now gets me tired. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten into
That's it.
really mad. When I get really mad, I get exhausted because it's just through the self-reflect, my body's now telling me this isn't worth it.
Right.
Go to sleep. It's not worth it. You're tired.
Go to
Helps
bed.
when you get older, yeah. I mean,
So
that
I'm
definitely
like-
helps, but
And then by the time you have that, literally to me, I keep stressing on it. If I have the time to think about any situation, I have the ability to make the right decision.
Yeah.
And the learned behaviors, if I have time to think about whatever's bringing that out of me, then I have time to make the right decision. I have the ability to make the right decision. I still don't
Absolutely.
always make the right decision. I probably never will, but my percentage of wins is growing, so that's good.
when do you think the first time was that you had like a stable job, your own decent, not living dirty income?
Okay, you ready? So no, this is a good one because this was something that taught me a bunch about myself. So I thought in my 20s I've overcame everything. When I had my son, I had a good job, stable job. I was living mostly right. I thought I had it conquered. So this taught me a very valuable lesson. But what I didn't have conquered it didn't even have a notion of were my learned behaviors. So I didn't even acknowledge them, right? And then life hit me, right? Like life hit me like life hits everyone.
Sure.
Right.
Stuff went south, the relationship spoiled, had to do a custody battle, I had just life hit me. Normal life. I don't even want to dwell on all of it. Just normal life. Presented obstacles, and what did I not prepare myself for? The learned behavior I had to overcome said obstacles. So I just fell back on them. Like, oh, this is normal again. And you know what that led to, not caring again, not focusing on self-respect. I ended up back in jail. And that was when, like I said, I was just going through the motions. I got in a normal life. I had structure, and I can swim like a good little fish in the current, But when the current stops or when there's a mountain in your way, what did I do? I fell back on old things. And then I needed money, so what am I going to do? Next thing you know, you're going back on learned behavior. And it ended I went back to jail.
So that's
So that was the first time I had a normal life, and I wasn't prepared for it.
that's a very important point, right? So like I try to emphasize this a lot, especially at work with guys that I'm counseling, is we can all make these changed behaviors and be okay and think we're okay when everything's going the way we want it to go. It's when life shows up, what do we do? And if we have no defense for that, then obviously what do? We go right back to the old behaviors, right? We go right back into the fuck it mentality, right? And then screw it, I'm doing this, I'm going here, I'm doing that. Next thing you know, now I'm back into everything I was doing, right back to where it was from day one. So it's important. So it's good that you're able to see that and be able to say. But I wasn't then. Not then, right? But now, right? So like after going back into jail and being able to realize like, oh shit,
I have so much more work to do.
Yeah. Right? Because I always think of anger as our greatest gift, right? I've never changed anything in life if I've just accepted it. Mm-hmm. It's only when I've gotten angry at it that I've said, wait a minute, something's got to change. And I got to change it because now I'm mad at the situation. So I think of anger as like the motivating tool. That's the greatest gift we've ever been given, right? So yeah, man, that's a good, important lesson that I hope everybody picks up on that is listening to this, is because, like, I've had a lot of people that'll come into rehab that'll say, I know how to get sober and I know how to change. I know how to do these things. I don't need the help of anything else. I'm going to go do it.
And I'm like, 10 years one time.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's great. But again, you don't know how to do it because now life shows up and here you are, right? So it's good that you're able to do that. One thing that I do want to touch on, right, is because you had mentioned about your kids, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, there was no real father figures growing up, right? How did you learn that, right? Because you talked a little bit, like you guys said, about not having your father in life, right? Like, how did that affect you? How does it still affect you?
It's easier now, I'll tell you that. Much easier. So growing up, my nickname was Chris the Fury, so let's talk about anger, right? Like I'm 0 to a million right this second. And I'm still that way. But I just do my best to lead myself to use it as a superpower instead of a detriment. But so growing up, the father figures in my life, like my mom was young, when she had me and my older brother. And she was like, now that I look back on it and I see it, like I followed the same thing, right? Like in your 30s, she wasn't grown. I wasn't grown in my 30s either. I was still probably mentally a teenager, right? Maybe, institutions probably help with that, stunting my growth as an individual. But not having a father in my 30s, I'd have told you it impacted me a lot, right? Negatively. Everything would be negative. And it did. It had its share of, impacting me negatively. But now when I look back on it, it impacted me as much positively as well. Because just like saying the things to you guys where I'll take a failure and learn from it, I will reflect in on myself to see what changes I'd want to happen in a situation or how I handled something. Those all stem from having to learn things myself, right? Having to teach myself. And so that aspect of not having a dad, like I've had to learn how to fix cars on my own. I never had that. I was raised by women. I have to learn to fix things that go wrong at the house on my own. Thankfully now there's YouTube that'll show you a step-by-step basis of everything. Right. You just have to look for it.
We love YouTube.
Yeah. And but so it's so weird that life has put me in a position, and I say age, but it's really mentality, that I think not having a father equally as negative as a positive as it's been, it's equal. Like
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's definitely like it could have been easier for me, and maybe it would have been, maybe it wouldn't have been.
Right.
Like I don't know my dad. What if he's, It could have been Ted Bundy for all I know, you know, and then all of a sudden I'm normalizing that.
How many times have you met him?
I went there once
Where's there?
to his house, sorry.
Wherever.
It was Old City at the time. So
Oh, okay. So
sorry.
you guys are actually in the same community.
So I lived in Franklin. I was
Oh,
raised in
okay.
Franklin,
Yeah.
and he lived in Old City. I don't know how long, but there was a time. So in like 5th grade, I went there. Hated it. You know what I mean?
Like your mom just dropped you off?
She asked me. She asked me if I wanted to go, and my older brother was there, who I never at that time I don't even
Oh.
ever have a memory of.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, let's go. No, it would have been before that, so maybe 4th grade. So I went and hated it. Like I hated it. I hated
What was
every
different
aspect.
that you hated?
Everything. Everything. He's just like, I don't know. I think he tried, right? But at that point, I was a grown toddler, you know? Like I had to be a man of my, I remember when my little brother was born, I was, I'd been like 7, 8, oh no, not, I'd have been 7. So when he was born, I was 7. And my mom went into labor at home. Like she was like, it's go time. We didn't have a phone. You know, we were real poor. But my uncle lived down the street. And it was dark. And Myrtle Street, up at the corner of the one to Bend, it was dark. So all like the street lights were shot out and there was like no light. So she was like, Chris, you got to go get help. And I was like, yeah, you know, I was like, I got you. I'm getting like my shoes and stuff on. And I step out on that porch and it's pitch dark. And I look up towards the road and I'm like, I don't have
8,
this.
7.
7.
Oh.
I'm like, I don't have this. Like, I'm scared to death. And, but then I ended up getting the bravery. I mean, I don't know if my eyes were even open. I just ran as fast as I could and got down there. Everything happened. But, so she asked me, and do you want to go to your dad's? And I'm like, yep, I want to go meet my older brother. But they had 1, 2, 3 other kids, like him and his new wife or whatever. Anyway, I hated it. So I could have probably went back there, but I told my mom, like, never again.
Do you think you hated it because here's now somebody trying to possibly give you structure, and it's like, who's this fucking stranger?
No, he didn't have structure there.
Okay.
It was just like, oh, my son, you know, it wasn't like, there wasn't a time during that weekend that I was like,
Just like a weird
it was just a
bubble type thing.
Yeah, it was just a vibe that I was like,
Yeah.
no. And anyway, so I never went back, and he didn't press the issue, you know what I mean? He had life going on. But then when I saw him there, it reminded me of a time. So crazy things that bring up like memories. So I was a little kid. I was probably 4, 5. I'm playing at my grandmother's house out in the street, and we're just playing on the steps, and this guy comes up. He walks up to me, and I remember being like, I know this guy from somewhere. And I'm like, I know you from somewhere. He's like, hey, Chris. And he picks me up. And he started carrying me down the street. Luckily, my older cousin ran in, got my grandma. She yelled at him. He was going to take me. He had the car door open, was going to steal me.
The only memory is that your dad?
That was my dad. That was my dad. And
Oh,
so that
so
sort of
sad.
led to it, right? Like, and then he just, after the attempt, you know, it was, we never saw each other again. So to answer your question, I saw him twice. And that was it. And then by the time, I don't know if maybe he tried to get back in when I was, 15, but by that time, I was a grown man. You know, life has
Gone
forced
by
me.
the time of 15.
Yeah.
Ruling
So
the world with your dreams and angst.
terrible decision making, yes.
Well,
But-
I mean, in all reality, at that age, by the time we hit 15, we figured, fuck it, we'll be dead by 18.
Right.
So,
Yeah, didn't care.
yeah.
But he recently reached out to me on Facebook. And when I say recent, this is like, I turned my phone off. But it was like a month ago, tops. Reached out to me through Facebook Messenger. And I answered him. You know, so I've sort of prepared myself for this. Because, like I said, I do a lot of self-reflection. So I'm like, I've thought about a time, like, what if I ran into him? Like, how would I react? And I've sort of covered both ends of the spectrum. Like, would I be angry? Would I not care at all? And I sort of fell in the middle. I mean, really wasn't angry. It was more like, I'm not going to spend life on what ifs, because there's as many what ifs could have been positive as negative. So I just answered him like, hey, how are you? How's life? and he lives in another state now. And he sort of asked about me, said he saw my kids' pictures, and he was like, that's awesome. I was like, I sort of tiptoed around it, and this is what was different for me.
I would
And
too.
something that was
even have
weird,
pictures.
but I've never been a tiptoer, right? But I did, I tiptoed. I was like, oh yeah, they're great, you know, life's great. And like he just kept repeating the same thing. And this is what got me finally, like that. I finally was like, what am I doing? Why am I tiptoeing around a conversation that, you know, I need to have? He kept saying that he has this young girlfriend that saved him. But he just kept saying it, like stressing it. Like he wanted me to be like, oh, congratulations on having a young girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, and that's sort of where my superpower anger came in. I was like, what the hell am I doing? I'm not going to appease this guy. Like, what? I was like, you know why I've been so successful? Because he's like, he would say, like, you've been successful. I was like, I finally was like, why I've been so successful is because I would never do to my boys what you did to me. And I just sent that. I said, it's no disrespect. I'm not trying to disrespect you. But you're a driving force
Did that
in
really
why
help
I am who I am.
to like propel yourself, like continue on this path? Was that like a moment for you? Like a
I mean, you know what it was? It was a moment of realization that I was like, why am I tiptoeing around to strangers to not hurt his feelings?
Mm-hmm.
And allowing him, like I felt uncomfortable that he's mentioned this young girlfriend so much. Like, I don't care about the age of, you could have a 400-year-old girlfriend, good for you.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? And it was like, it sort of to show me that he's someone I didn't want in my life.
Yeah.
And like that, those aren't the things that mattered to me. If I didn't see someone, I want to hear everything about you. I want to know about you. I want to know about my grandkids.
Right.
You know, like that was the thing that I want to know about my grandkids.
Yeah.
And it just didn't lead that way. So I hit him with that, and he didn't respond. And again, I said, I don't mean that as disrespect towards you. I don't. That's just the way life worked out. But I do want you to know how it affected me. And it ultimately affected me positively. So that's that. And then he never responded, but I see on the feed or whatever, he's like, I'm just going to delete Facebook. It's nothing but heartache for me. And then that's when I had the oh wow moment. Like, oh wow, you're somebody I don't need. Your opinion doesn't matter to me. It never did.
You know, that's it.
I'm just going to delete Facebook.
That's very important,
I
right?
love when people announce that. You're not. If you're announcing it,
No.
you're not.
I love that you bring that up, right? Because like I have my own personal situation with that, with a biological father, right? Like where, and this is important for the listeners, is sometimes it's best to just, you know, the old saying, like let laying dogs lie, right? And sometimes that's best. I know, like, I was in a situation like that with my biological father, right? I wanted to meet him. I met him. First time I meet him, you know, I meet him and my sister, which I actually talked to her today. But I meet this guy, and, you know, he's all gun-ho, you know. Oh, I haven't seen you, and, like, you know, I got all these questions. He brought me, like, a hoodie, because, like, he owns an apple orchard or some bullshit. And he's like, you know, this is going to be a part of your family history, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, what a clown.
It's hard to connect
Right?
those two.
Yeah.
Those tracks are not.
Like
But-
this hoodie? What am I, shadow box it? What do you want me to do?
But I listened to him, right? And, you know, and it was hard for me to not say. So one of the questions he had asked, he was like, well, he had asked me that, you know, how has your life been? Like, did me not being there not affect you, right? And first thing I
Really?
said,
He just flat out asked that?
flat out asked that, right? So I was impressed that he asked that.
I don't know if
I'm
I'm
impressed
impressed
that
or
your
if I'm
dad's asking
intrigued.
this
So
question.
I said to
Mine
him,
did not.
I said, well, I have a dad. I was like, I have a guy who raised me as a dad. Don't get it twisted. I'm not meeting you because I want you to be my father. I'm meeting you because you are my biological father, right?
There's things you want to learn that could affect you in life now.
That's what I said to him, right?
Right.
And I told him, I said, I only know my mom's side of the story, so I'm here to hear yours, right?
Yeah.
So he tells me his side, and I'm like, both of them are fucked up with the way that they're telling me, right? Both of them got their own perception. So I'm like, I'll give this man a chance. Boom, I go out to dinner, I meet him another time, second time. and go meet him.
When was this, if you don't mind me
Oh
asking?
man, I still worked at CYS. That's actually how I found him, right? Because I had access
So you
to
had
a
to-
government
you had to find
agency.
him.
I don't say that online.
Yeah.
Beep,
I don't
beep,
give a fuck.
beep,
I don't work
beep,
there, right? I don't work there. I don't give a shit.
We can edit that later.
So
He won't let me. He
no,
won't let me
no, no,
edit
no.
anything.
There was a paralegal that helped me find him, more or less, right?
That doesn't work there anymore.
It's
Nope.
right.
Don't even know her
Right.
name.
Don't even know her name. So
Non-binary.
anyway, she helped me. We found him, and then that's how I sent him a letter and was like, "Yo, this is my mom. This is who I am. I think you might be right." He asked. They messaged me. They saw a photo of me, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't need to do DNA. There's no question."
Yeah, you look just like me. Right. Okay, gotcha.
Dude, I'll show you the picture.
Yeah, I
when
wanna
we
see
get
it.
I
done.
want to
I'm
see a
intrigued.
picture
I'm
now
intrigued.
too.
Fucking identical.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it happens.
So anyway, so then the third time, so I'm getting ready to go meet him.
Did he know about you?
He said he didn't, right? Whatever.
Right, yeah,
but he
I got
did.
you.
He
Yeah,
did.
yeah, I got you.
So anyway, he, I want to build this relationship with you. Da 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 da. Da.
Cool.
Cool. We can do that. I call him. I'm calling him. I call him. Finally, I'm like, why the fuck am I calling this man? Right? And I'm like, you call me.
Yeah.
Like, I came and found you once. I'm not doing it again. I never heard from him since.
Really?
Oh,
Right?
man.
So that just tells you,
So-
that answers your question.
Answers my question, right?
Yeah.
However, at the time when that happened, it really pissed me off. Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this fucking piece of shit. And I had to reflect and say, wait a minute, why am I getting mad over a stranger, right? And I was like, fuck that, I'm gonna call my dad and go eat some wings, right? Because I was like, I got a dad. I never wanted him for that.
And feel that love that you want,
Right.
that you want to feel.
So it was like one of those things where I think sometimes I talk to people that are like, I want to find my biological parents. And I'm like, maybe not.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we understand that, like, it does have an effect on us.
Ooh.
And, like, it could have even more of an effect. And sometimes, maybe the answers you're seeking aren't worth knowing, right? Because what's understood don't need explained sometimes. So, like, I like that you brought that up, because that's a very valid lesson that I think that a lot of people don't get. Man, it was a crazy situation. It was nuts. I'll tell you more.
Hey,
about
I
it
think,
offline.
I want to say though, I think if you want to find your biological, by all means do
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But
By all
just
means, do it. Just
take,
be prepared.
yeah, just take into the consideration, like, just prepare yourself that if it might not go the way you hope and you
Right.
dream in your head, and if you go into it with that mindset and can take it for however way it falls, then by all means do it.
I feel like we could all have like a lost dad episode. I mean, like, they have these stereotypes, right? Because they're stereotypes. Because they are.
I could go deep in this one.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
me
and
too.
so like, I'm in the city and not doing wild and crazy things like you are, but I'm doing my own wild and crazy things, and a lot of that, like, when we were growing up, there was no Facebook, there was no internet, there was no, so I remember,
Right.
like, even as an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, no internet, trying to find, like, okay, my mom said he lived here, she's probably lying, so I'm gonna search here, and, like, looking up the white pages. Then when the internet became
awesome.
a thing, right? Do you remember Nokia phones? I remember being downstairs sleeping, and my grandma screaming my name, Nikki Ray, because, like, text messages cost a lot, and she would get, like, $700 phone bills because I'd be finding messages and texting people, like, your last name is Sanders, what about, like, I was obsessed with it. And then when I was 25 and at my sickest, I flew to Texas to go meet him because I found his kids on their college Facebook site. Okay.
Wow.
And I wasted
I
a
think
lot
every
of my
woman
life,
should be
though.
a cyber detective. Honestly, I
I
swear.
could really work for the FBI. Don't
You could.
play.
I don't doubt it one bit.
Don't play.
Okay, keep going. Sorry, I just had to put that in there.
She's a beast with the computers.
It's,
The
it's a
commitment
problem.
it takes, they
Well,
have.
I think because, like, I spent that much time finding my dad, and then I was in an abusive relationship, and so it was like, I'm just constantly trying to find how to get out or get into things. But I met my dad, And my expectation, again, of what I thought this was going to be, like, oh, my child. No. He was like, wow, you really look like your mom. I'm going to take you to your grandma's. She lives a while away. And I was like, oh.
Drop you off.
Right.
This is familiar.
Yes, yeah. That's exactly what he did. We stopped at a gas station when I got off the flight at the airport. And it was in Texas, and legitimately everything is bigger. And I was like, wow, these are huge. We don't have these sizes in PA. And he was like, you look like a tourist. I need you to calm down. And I was like, okay, great, all right. Aye. And I'm just tired than a kite, too, because, but it fulfilled that part of me. And then I came home and realized what a piece of shit he was, right? But I had all these brothers and sisters I never got to know or even knew about. And anyways, but I got home and I felt like I cheated on my stepdad. I was like, oh, my dad is so cool. And I didn't like perceptualize, like I was just so hurt as a child by just not ever knowing unconditional love.
And imagine finding out he has another family that he loved.
Does
that affect you? Right, yeah, you're right. That's where our minds can take it, right? That's where our minds can take it.
Exactly who he is, and that's what I learned.
Yeah, and that's where mine when
that he loved.
First time meeting that guy, that's what he did was sit there and tell me how I put her through college and I did this, and I'm like, I remember food stamps when they were dollar bills, bud.
The twins got cars for their 16th birthday, and I was wasting my 16th birthday looking for you. You know.
But one of the things
I never looked.
Before we go into a warm,
never looked.
You were busy.
Yeah.
Fucking shit up in Paris.
That's right. Not giving up hell.
One of the things that we wanted to talk about, and I'll bring it to this because we'll wrap this up here in a minute. We had talked, one of the things you had said you wanted to talk about was, and I don't know how we can say this on YouTube, but we're not monetized, so we can say whatever we want.
You can allow me to edit it.
Nah, it's fine. This is a whole topic, right? Is suicidal thoughts, right? We had talked briefly about it, which I myself, the first time you had reached out, I was going through a dark space actually on a different
I know
thing.
what time that was, yeah.
And I was talking about suicidal thoughts, right? Because I was like, dude, I want to sit down and blow my face off. And actually, that's why I have my cat, which if you notice, his cat bed's over there. You can see it on camera.
Little baby Pickle.
On one of the episodes that we record, he pops in here and there.
I found the toys, yeah.
Yeah, old Pickles. So Pickles actually saved my life.
It's you.
Yeah, gotcha.
He that was my turning point, was that it was getting him. But that's neither here nor there. So like I've struggled with that a lot from time to time, and all throughout my life I've had those thoughts, and then
there's been experience, yeah. There was a rash. So it was about that same time. There was so suicide affected my life personally, and then there was at the same period, I noticed that young men in my personal bubble were committing suicide, and it was in a rate that it blew my mind.
right.
And I was like, what's going on to cause this? Because I've never, like, I don't want to say I've been suicidal myself. I didn't care if I lived. Right. So I mean, there was a period of time that happened. Now I care very much. But it made me think, like, what am I missing with these people? Because I take pride in my ability to feel how people were feeling at times. To pick up on cues that I'm like, hey, something isn't right, man. Like, everything okay? And I was missing it. And it made me, at that point in life in my growth, I felt comfortable with self-growth, and I needed to start expanding out more, because I don't want to be that guy that's just selfish. I don't want to be selfish. I had to be selfish, but I had to for me. Right. And now I don't have to be. And I can sort of expand out more to people. This is one of the steps of doing so. And I was like, what am I missing? And I think I wanted to talk about it just because I don't want to miss that. And maybe I will. Maybe there'll be other young men, life is hard. I get it. It's hard. It can come at you and it's unforgiving. And it's hard to prepare for that, right? It's hard to accept that there'll be stuff life throws at you that you won't overcome. Only thing you can do is try and, how you react to it, react, a certain way. And there's nothing that can be done. But I just always say to people, especially when I pick up on something that, life is really giving it to them. My worst day alive is better than my best day dead. We've lost too many people, whether through, this is suicide, which is,
I mean, drug addiction is the same way, right?
Yeah,
because
they
we're
don't
losing
care.
everybody
Yeah.
left and right from
Right.
fentanyl
yeah,
and stuff. And on a serious note, like, to take this on a serious note here is like, that's kind of the hope for this podcast, and maybe for just people in general, is to understand like our emotions, our emotional state is what makes us, because we get trapped in what we think is a nightmare, right? And when we're trapped, we feel like there's no way out and there's nobody there. And that's why it's so important. Like, I'll always tell people, bro, you ain't got to do this. We can do it together, right? Is because it's important to have those people around you to understand that, like, man, we're not alone. And you don't, no matter how dark it is, there's a way out, and like, if need be, call us. Like, we got it. Like, obviously, and I have in the middle of this episode, I think I'll put the crisis number, which is 1-800. It's 1-855-943-5750. That's the mental health crisis line.
Or
If you're,
988.
or what is it?
988. So they've shortened that number to pound 988.
So pound 988.
And we have all of the links for texting in our link tree for all of it.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Right.
Teens, adults.
So how do you hope to help combat that, right? Because we're losing so many people.
So one, I just want to stress something that you said there. The group is always more powerful than the individual.
Hey,
Always.
amen to that.
Always. Just like if you're lifting something. And I mean, this is how serious it is, especially with addiction and mental health. Imagine when you have to lift the casket of your friend. You're a pallbearer. Everybody gets a corner. Why? Because it's easier to lift something.
Right.
It distributes the weight of something. It's the same with mental health. Get your group. Find your group. Get your people. The ones you're comfortable with, where you can say what is bothering you without judgment.
Right.
And if you don't have one of them, do it to a stranger. Talk to a stranger, because the group's always more powerful than the individual. Mm-hmm. It's always easier to distribute weight to a group. But how do I combat it? As best I can is just with the truth.
Without judgment.
Without judgment.
You just said it right there. Like,
But
that's
with the
key.
truth. And this is more an addiction aspect. So, because I have somebody that has fallen off right now, and this has happened over, I don't know, a month period maybe, and it was someone I was very close with. We're just friends, and when I found out that the fall off happened, I tiptoed again. I tiptoed around it. I would still answer the phone. And I would just let that person just, beat me over the head, so to speak, like tell me whatever he wanted. And I would tiptoe around it. Well, then finally I was like, what am I doing? I'm not doing him. I thought maybe by doing that I was doing him a service, like just still having that contact, right? But I wasn't doing him a service, so I just finally said the truth. Like, hey bro, this is what I know. This is the ramifications of it. The only outcome's death.
Right.
Whether that's, emotional death, physical, whatever. There's no good going to come from this. And by me just answering my phone and beating around the bush and being an outlet for you because you maybe are burning too many bridges is not doing you a service.
Right.
Wait, and you don't work in mental health?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Don't. I just work in my own.
Do you want to work
my
in
own-
mental health?
I really want
We'll
to
pay
just.
you nothing, but
right.
it's very rewarding.
It is rewarding. I really just, like, I had to tell him the truth, and I said, listen, I'm not going to make life harder on you, because I know his family and everything. And I talked to his family. And he was like, you can't tell my family. I don't want to burn mine and your relationship fully. I'm not going to reach out to your family, but I'm going to tell you this. If your family calls me and asks me, I'm not going to lie for you. And that scenario actually played out. His family called me, asked me. I told him the truth. Because look, I don't want you guys, trying to crutch up his use, because he's going to die if he doesn't go get help. And that's sort of where it's at right now. He spent like a month and not talking to me, which is fine. You know what I mean? I feel like I did that for his betterment. It wasn't for me.
Right.
Like it helped me none. It actually hurt me. It hurts me in my feelings. But now he's reaching out to me again. Still hasn't got help. But what's become more comfortable through practice is I'm going to call you to the, I'm going to call you to the pulpit, my man. You're not just going to call me and be like, oh, hey, how are the Steelers? It's not going to happen. It's like, look, did you go get help? No, you can't come around my people.
Right.
You're not going to come bring this around my people.
Yeah.
I have impressionable kids that usually rely on seeing you, every so often. They don't get to see you now because of your choices, not mine.
Right.
So go get help. And that's all I keep saying. Go get help.
That's important, because I think a lot of people watching, we do. Like, we feel like, there's people, and like even in my own life, there's people where it's like, I don't want them to feel that they're alone, but at the same time, you got to be able to say, look, bro, you're not alone when you're ready to get help, but right now, like, you are alone, because like I'm not going to put myself, because we all have addiction, and like at the end of the day, if I try to help somebody in that avenue, I'm putting myself at risk of ending up right back into the same situation where now I'm back doing heroin again, So like, yeah, it is self-care, right? Mm-hmm. And not only is it self-care, it's being able to say like, bro, I love you, but like I'm not gonna be here to co-sign your shit, and I'm not gonna honor your shit either. Like, if people are saying, like, I'm gonna be like, yeah, this motherfucker and I. Like, sometimes, like, it takes that, and people will say all the time, well, he's an asshole. No, it's that somebody's telling you the truth finally.
Yeah.
You know
Truth is hard.
The truth sucks.
Listen, I will help you 0 ways in your active addiction.
Yeah,
but I will help you every way in your fight to get better.
Absolutely.
And that's as much to do with me as it is to do with them.
Absolutely.
So, again, it leads back to the group is always more stronger than the individual.
Amen.
We were talking before this, and we were talking about our past, and you see her face, she was like, oh my gosh, that was normal?
Yeah.
And I was like, you need that sometimes. Like, yeah, maybe that wasn't normal.
Right.
And just that reaction's like, it's not normal. There's things in your life that you would probably say,
oh, yeah.
Just like the hunt for your dad.
Yeah.
Never, ever crossed my mind. I would never have done that.
Oh my gosh, I got in so much trouble as a kid. I remember my grandpa really tried to do the best by me, and he would sit me down and be like, what do you want to find this loser for? You're just wasting all your time, and you're getting in trouble with your mind, just wasting. And like, I was like, but I gotta find them. I have to.
Right.
So preoccupied.
I love, like, my grandmother will give it to you straight too. Like, just straight. And I love that. Like, as I get older, I do that now.
Yeah.
But back then, they would give it to, like, why are you trying to find this loser? I love him.
But it made me want to find him more, honestly. I'm like, is he a loser? Because, like, my other options are limited here.
I was in Texas last year.
Were you?
My oldest actually made it to the Robotics World Championship.
Stop.
It was
That's
awesome.
Really great.
It was awesome. It was like, it was awesome. It was like the Olympics for robotics. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you you didn't get to grow up with that father figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you struggled all this time to like change your mirroring, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that feeling like to take your kid to something that he liked, that he enjoyed? What was that moment like?
Well, I get it so much now. Like, it was amazing, amazing. And I think the biggest thing that has changed through self-growth and work is the ability to feel things. Like you say it, like our feelings. I've numbed them for so long because I didn't understand them.
Mm-hmm.
I was never taught feelings, like my life was what it was.
Right.
But now I get to feel them, and sometimes they're so powerful, right? Like they'll come over me, I'll be like, oh, what the hell?
I'm crying. Crying.
Let me go get in the shower. I need a shower. We don't cry outside of the shower. But, so it's like
that. All right.
it's like just the ability to feel and understand them is amazing.
Yeah.
So like even now, I'll see kids achieve things like his friends or the basketball team and I'll see them achieve things that I'm like, man, the feeling of pride will come in, and before it was such a stubborn feeling.
Right.
Like the only reason I used pride was to justify my terrible behavior, right? And now I get to feel it from a whole different side of the spectrum, and it's amazing. And it's like, why would I ever want to, why was I trying to silence these things? Why did I want to not feel these? And now I embrace them. And seeing people achieve goals is so awesome that it just makes me want to continue on my path. It gives you the gas, right? Mm-hmm. So when life gets hard and life throws obstacles, I've now, built up enough to drive around them. I have enough fuel to get around them. And you get it daily. Nice. I sure hope I see your cat.
I hope you meet him too. He's great.
So
I hope I see him.
So importantly, you now are selling baseball cards.
Oh no, just eBay in general. So listen,
all right, so
I keep myself
eBay?
busy. Keep myself busy.
Do you have an eBay? Do you have an eBay name?
No, you could just message me, y'all. Just message me. I'll give it to you.
Okay. But you're selling like sports memorabilia.
Everything. Listen.
Okay.
Everything.
So we hustling everything now.
Everything. Hope. Selling hope. First and foremost.
All right.
But yeah, I keep myself busy. I coach AAU.
Okay.
Three age groups.
What's
so
that?
AAU basketball. So
basketball.
Yep, I do it with two buddies, three actually, and we have the 13 and under, a 10 and under, or a 11 and under, 13 and under, and then a 17 and under. And so 2 days a week we're practicing, and then we have about 3 months of tournaments coming up where the weekends are gone. So
it's good to see you, Jim, you guys coaching basketball.
Basketball is it's a way for us to work out as young men much different things than just the game of basketball.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot of lessons through it.
And we lived at 11th Street.
You know what? Yeah. You know what I gravitate to, and it's it's just life. But the kids that are having trouble controlling their emotions, those are the ones that are the closest to me.
Oh, of
that
course.
I go to.
Of course.
Because I'm like, I relate. I know this. Let's change it right now, and so you're not changing it like I had to.
Right.
And I stay busy, but yes, sports go. Why, you want something?
What, sports?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I have probably 50,000, 100,000 of them.
Right. I'm on an old school gym. Wow, we'll talk about it. Anyway, so all right, man. So this is a long episode. We've gone
I'm telling you,
quite
we're
a bit.
gonna
So
edit
if you,
it.
no, we're not.
Edit.
So if you've made it this far,
We're paying for airtime.
we appreciate you being here. You could have been anywhere in the world today, but you chose to be here with us. So we appreciate you sticking through. And don't know what number of episode we're going to release this at. It'll probably be here shortly, but we greatly appreciate the support that we've gained at this current time.
Yeah.
We've only released one episode, and the support has been amazing.
Yeah.
So we appreciate your support. We thank you, and keep watching. Go ahead and say your thing.
Keep happy hour happy.
Yeah.
And
All right.
one last thing for me, no matter what your demons are, no matter what battle is, you're worth it. You're absolutely worth it. Life is worth it. It's hard. The change can be very hard, but it's doable. If I can do it, anyone can. So if you need to reach out, definitely do. I'll help in any way I can, even if it's just to tell you that you're absolutely worth it on every level. So please remember that.
Absolutely. And then we didn't dive much into your past, which is good. Like, we didn't want to do that. So, but I definitely want to say, man, I'm very proud of you from where you've came to where you are now. Not once have you flipped over a table while doing this interview.
It's too little.
It's still there was a time where it's, don't even make a joke. Chris might flip the couch. So I greatly appreciate, man. I appreciate you coming through. And as always, man, subscribe, like, share, and
Nothing but love for you guys. Congrats.